Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 469 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. It is, as always, so good to be with you guys. I really feel connected to you through the time that we get to spend together because connection to other people is so energizing to me. I'm sure it is to you too. I mean, when you really connect with someone, it's a good feeling. Now, sometimes it happens right away. You meet somebody and you're like, I like this person. We connect. And sometimes it takes a little time, but either way, that connection feels good. It's part of what makes life so enjoyable. So I always try to be really grateful for the relationships that I have and that I really enjoy. Now, we're human though, and it's really easy to pick our friends and family apart. It's easy to judge and label, which is not bringing anyone closer. It's not making anyone feel good. I mean, we judge people we love and we label people we love. Why do we do that? I mean, we even do it to ourselves. We label and judge ourselves too. Well, it turns out that this is the product of an untrained mind. Now, don't worry, we all do it. Most of us anyway. Some people probably have moved beyond it and they're enlightened, but most of us do that. We judge and we label and we do it to ourselves too because we're human. And because we're human, we all have this human baggage that we've collected over time. And with that baggage comes these preconceived ideas of what things mean, which means sometimes we take things wrong or sometimes we create things in our head that just aren't true. And then we don't give it time to play out before we get upset about it. We judge quickly and we label readily. We react too quickly and now we've done or said something we regret. I've been really working on not speaking when I feel strongly about something. I'm passionate. I have big emotions on certain things. So sometimes I'm calm, but there's some things that I have big emotions about. But I'm learning to allow myself time to process and just sort of be quiet until I don't feel so strongly about it. There's a good example. We have a friend who has very different political beliefs from us, which is fine and actually really good to help us keep an open mind about things. I'm so happy about it. So we were having a conversation recently on politics with our friend that believes differently, and which is probably never a good idea, but I noticed that I could tell I was getting that feeling kind of bubbling in my chest, and I really wanted to add my opinion to the conversation, but I caught myself and I said, Heidi, you're not adding value here because you're kind of frustrated. Maybe just sit this one out, which I did. And strangely, that bubbling just sort of went away because I love our friend and there was zero benefit to anyone at all for me to jump in. And because I felt strongly, I knew it probably would have come off as passive aggressive, which is never attractive on anyone. So I was very controlled in my response in that I allowed myself not to respond at all because it wouldn't have been productive. And therefore, that allowed that bubbling of irritation and frustration and almost feeling like mad. It allowed that to fade away. It was really empowering to have that control of myself. I read recently that the most powerful people in a meeting are generally not the ones speaking the loudest or talking the most. It's usually the one taking it all in and processing. Plato, who is considered the father of Western philosophy, had this to say. I thought this was really interesting. An empty vessel makes the loudest sound, so they that have the least wit are the greatest babblers. I wish I had learned this earlier in life, but I'm glad I'm learning it now. Better late than never, I think. But it's so valuable to know that you don't have to have an opinion about everything. And let's say you do. You don't have to voice it. It takes brain power to not force your opinion on others. It takes control of your mind to listen more than you speak. A lot of times, quiet people are just too busy thinking or listening to talk. So they choose their words wisely because they know words matter. They know words are really powerful. So the ability to be slow to speak is actually pretty powerful. When you're slow to speak, you realize there is no need to respond just because someone else says something provocative. I mean, it's more powerful not to respond than to respond. Isn't that interesting? You would think, well, I got to get my word out there. But it's actually more powerful not to respond, especially when you feel passionately and strongly about it, than to respond. Eric and I will often turn on a sleep story at night to help us go to sleep. We do that through the Calm app. And one of our favorites is The Great Gatsby. It's really good. A lot of times it just puts me right to sleep. But in that story, at one point, one of the main characters is talking to a belligerent man who asks her who invited her or who brought her to this famous party. Now, he goes on to braggingly say that he was brought by a Rockefeller. When it came time for her to respond, she simply didn't. She basically shook his hand, said, "It's nice to meet you," and went on her way. No need or want at all to defend the status of how she was at the party. It's a little thing, but whenever I hear that part, I love it because it takes more brain power not to respond to a provocative statement than it does to just lash out or defend your position. I mean, it shows you control your mind, which is the most powerful thing you can do. Control your mind. Plato is also quoted as saying, which this is really true, and it's actually, it sometimes when I do these podcasts, not sometimes, all the time, I'm talking to myself, and so this one kind of hurt. But he said, the untrained mind keeps up a running commentary, labeling everything, judging everything. Best to ignore that commentary. Don't argue or resist, just ignore. Deprived of attention and interest, this voice gets quieter and quieter and eventually just shuts up. I like how he put it. I like to think that this means not allowing your thoughts to be on autopilot, which I talk about a lot. We don't want our thoughts to be on autopilot because the autopilot is when we get in trouble. When you just allow your brain to think what it wants, it goes directly to judgment and labeling, which Plato reminds us means you have an untrained mind. Not what any of us likes to think of ourselves, but if you allow the judging and labeling to continue, you have an untrained mind and you're not being the best version of you. But you can be. It just takes a little work. And so can I. It just takes a little work. So let's work on it together, which is what we're doing twice a week for 10 minutes. So let's work on being slow to speak, slow to throw out our opinion, slow to defend our position. Our power lies in our ability to control our mind. My challenge to you this week is to practice training your mind by not responding if someone says something provocative. Or maybe you're having a conversation with someone and you just want to inject your story in there too. Why not just let them talk? And maybe just be willing to listen, just this one time. You'll notice it feels really good. It's actually quite empowering to know that we can control our own mind. Let's show ourselves that we aren't an empty vessel by not acting like one. Share this with 3 people who want to feel empowered. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.